Hello everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Gates channel. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and hit like for more daily drama updates and spoilers. Your support truly means a lot and helps our channel grow every day. Joey's growing suspicions about Heather are beginning to create a serious divide between him and Vanessa, and on the Thursday, August 13th episode of Beyond the Gates, that disagreement is finally impossible to ignore. Joey and Vanessa have never looked at Heather in quite the same way, but now the differences in their opinions are pushing their relationship into uncomfortable territory. Joey's sister has already traded verbal shots with Vanessa, yet somehow, despite that rocky beginning, the two women continue to find ways to bond, making Heather's sudden presence in their lives even more complicated. From Vanessa's perspective, perhaps Heather deserves another chance, especially after the moments they have shared together. But Joey knows his sister in a way Vanessa simply cannot. And deep down, he feels there is something about Heather's return that does not add up. The more Heather appears, the more Joey's instincts are screaming that she did not come to the DMV for innocent reasons. Heather has been appearing in Joey and Vanessa's lives with almost suspicious convenience, slipping into their world one encounter at a time and slowly becoming more familiar with the people around them. Her first major opportunity came at Uptown, where she managed to bond with both Vanessa and Danny, creating the impression that she was simply finding her place and rebuilding relationships. Then she turned up at Joey's casino, where everything seemed playful and harmless as she supposedly went tequila shot for shot with Vanessa. But beneath the laughter and drinking, Heather was quietly playing a completely different game, secretly dumping her liquor into the bucket while Vanessa continued drinking and becoming more intoxicated with every passing moment. It was subtle enough that Vanessa apparently did not realize what was happening, but calculated enough to make Heather's intentions look increasingly disturbing. There was something almost effortless about the way Heather manipulated the situation, and the more these little details begin to surface, the harder it becomes to dismiss Joey's concerns. Heather is giving off unmistakably shady vibes, and it feels like every friendly interaction may be hiding another motive. That uneasy suspicion becomes even more important on Thursday, when Joey and Vanessa finally find themselves on opposite sides of the Heather question. Vanessa may want Joey to accept his sister back into his life, believing that Heather could be worth understanding rather than judging too quickly. Joey, however, is not willing to ignore what his instincts are telling him because he knows exactly how his sibling can operate when she has an agenda. To him, Heather's sudden return is not simply about reconnecting with family or making new friendships, and the warning signs are becoming too obvious to overlook. He senses that she is hiding something, and he is convinced that her reasons for being in the DMV have little to do with innocent intentions. The painful part is that Vanessa may not be ready to see what Joey sees, which means this disagreement could create an emotional crack between them. Sometimes a person does not need proof to feel that something is wrong, and Joey's skepticism may prove to be the one thing standing between Vanessa and a much bigger problem. While Joey and Vanessa struggle over Heather, another storm is gathering around Bill, Haley, Danny, and Andre, turning an already complicated situation into pure chaos. Somehow, Bill has survived his latest health scare, even though the circumstances surrounding his collapse sent everyone into a frantic emotional spiral. Haley had been this close to getting on a plane bound for St. Bart's, but those plans were completely derailed when Bill suddenly collapsed. Whatever Haley had intended to do next was immediately overshadowed by the reality of Bill's condition, forcing everyone around him to confront just how fragile the situation had become. Then, Danny made matters even more complicated by loudly referring to Bill as her husband rather than her ex-husband, a choice of words that carries far more weight than she may realize. With so many unresolved emotions already hanging in the air, that statement is almost guaranteed to stir another confrontation. And if Danny's decision to call Bill her husband was not enough to cause trouble, Andre is almost certainly going to have something to say about it. Yet Andre is dealing with more than just Danny's complicated feelings, because a mystery of his own continues to weigh heavily on his mind. His attention may be divided between the chaos surrounding Bill and the unanswered questions haunting his personal life, but that does not mean he is prepared to ignore what is happening around him. The weekly teasers reveal that Bill and Andre will come face to face, setting the stage for a meeting that promises to be anything but comfortable. There is already enough history, suspicion, and unresolved tension between the people surrounding these men to make their encounter feel like a confrontation waiting to explode. When they finally stand across from each other, the atmosphere is expected to be thick with tension, and neither man is likely to walk away feeling completely satisfied. But while Bill and Andre prepare for their tense encounter, Haley and Caroline are engaged in a very different kind of battle, one built around strategy, betrayal, and the dangerous art of trying to outsmart someone before they can outmaneuver you. Caroline has always been fiercely loyal to Bill, standing beside him as his trusted assistant and proving time and again that she is willing to protect him. At the same time, Caroline genuinely believed Haley was her friend, which makes the realization that Haley does not feel the same way especially painful. Haley dropped Caroline like a hot potato, leaving behind the kind of emotional wound that does not disappear simply because business continues as usual. Now the relationship between them has transformed into something much colder, with both women seemingly determined to stay one step ahead of the other. They are playing each other, testing each other, and carefully watching for the slightest mistake. But the real question is what either of them hopes to gain from this dangerous game. The tension surrounding Haley and Caroline becomes even more fascinating because neither woman appears willing to reveal her full hand. Caroline has already learned that loyalty does not guarantee loyalty in return, and that realization has changed the way she sees Haley. Haley, meanwhile, has shown that she is perfectly capable of making difficult moves when circumstances demand them, even if those choices leave former allies wounded in the process. Their battle is no longer simply about hurt feelings or a friendship that fell apart. It feels like a contest of patience, information, and survival. Every interaction could carry a hidden meaning, and every seemingly innocent move could actually be part of a larger strategy. As they attempt to outsmart each other, viewers are left wondering who will make the first mistake and what consequences will follow when the truth finally becomes impossible to hide. Elsewhere, Ashley and Grayson find themselves worried about a friend who desperately needs support, and all signs point toward Naomi as the person caught in the middle of yet another painful chapter. Naomi has already endured more than her share of emotional pressure, and now another crisis has arrived when she can least afford it. Forget everything else she has been dealing with, including the uncertainty surrounding her BRCA gene status, the complications involving her undercover husband, and the heartbreaking battle against cancer that has already touched her grandmother. Those problems alone would be enough to overwhelm almost anyone. But Naomi now has to face the terrifying reality of her father being in the hospital. Watching someone you love struggle with a serious health crisis can make every other problem suddenly seem small, while simultaneously making the world feel unbearably heavy. For Ashley and Grayson, seeing a friend in that kind of distress is bound to bring out their concern, and their worry could become another emotional thread running through the larger storm. Then there is Smitty, whose investigative work is beginning to change his life in ways he may not have expected. His series of articles exposing the red market plasma ring is getting serious attention, and the response is no longer something that can simply be brushed aside. The articles are bringing in the clicks, drawing readers toward the investigation and proving that Smitty's reporting has struck a nerve. His editor has clearly recognized the impact as well, because the series has now been submitted for a press award, giving Smitty a chance to receive professional recognition for the dangerous work he has been doing. After all the effort, risk, and persistence that went into bringing the story forward, such recognition could feel like a major victory. But in a world where exposing powerful secrets can come with a price, success may also make Smitty a much bigger target. That becomes especially concerning when word spreads that Smitty is considering an interesting new opportunity because there is no telling where this next step could lead him. Hopefully, whatever opportunity has appeared has nothing to do with Heather, because the last thing Smitty needs is to become entangled in another dangerous web while the consequences of his investigation are still unfolding. The Impaler is already furious with the investigative reporter, and that anger is not difficult to understand, given what Smitty has set in motion. After all, Smitty was the one who got the ball rolling on the investigation into the Red Market plasma ring, opening a door that powerful people may have desperately wanted to keep shut. His reporting has created attention, brought scrutiny, and potentially exposed secrets that someone like the Impaler would have preferred to remain buried. Now, as Smitty considers what comes next, the question is whether this new opportunity will become the biggest break of his career or the very thing that puts him in even greater danger. And as all these storylines begin moving toward one another, Thursday's episode promises a complicated mixture of suspicion, betrayal, family tension, health scares, and dangerous secrets. Joey is beginning to question whether Heather's return is really about family, while Vanessa remains more open to believing that her connection with Heather could be genuine. Bill has survived another terrifying health crisis, but his recovery has done little to calm the emotional chaos surrounding him, especially with Danny calling him her husband and Andre preparing to confront him. Haley and Caroline are locked in a quiet battle of wits after a friendship collapsed under the weight of betrayal, while Naomi faces another painful family crisis with her father in the hospital. And through it all, Smitty's success with the Red Market investigation could bring him professional glory at precisely the moment when his enemies are becoming more dangerous. In Beyond the Gates, every secret seems to create another secret. Every alliance carries the possibility of betrayal, and every victory may come with a price that no one is prepared to pay. As the pressure continues to build across Fairmont, the question surrounding Heather becomes more difficult to ignore, especially because her behavior has been just subtle enough to keep everyone guessing. Vanessa may still believe that there is a genuine connection forming between them, but Joey is looking beyond the surface, watching every move his sister makes with the kind of caution that comes from knowing someone's history too well. The tequila incident at the casino may have looked like nothing more than a wild night out, yet Heather's decision to secretly discard her own liquor while allowing Vanessa to become increasingly drunk paints a very different picture. It suggests planning, control, and a willingness to manipulate someone without letting them realize what is happening. That is precisely why Joey cannot simply smile and welcome Heather back into his world as though nothing has changed. And the more Vanessa defends her, the more Joey may feel as though he is fighting not only against Heather's hidden agenda, but also against the person he loves. For Vanessa, however, the situation may be far more complicated than Joey understands. She has actually spent time with Heather, shared moments with her, and witnessed the version of Joey's sister who knows how to be charming, engaging, and seemingly sincere. Heather has already managed to establish herself around Vanessa and Danny at Uptown, creating bonds that make it harder to believe she could secretly be working towards something destructive. But that is exactly what makes her presence so unsettling, because manipulation works best when the person being manipulated does not realize it is happening. Heather does not need to openly threaten anyone if she can simply become trusted enough to gain access to the right people and the right information. Joey sees that possibility, while Vanessa may still be looking at the relationship through the lens of hope and second chances. The coming conflict between them could therefore become much more emotional than a simple disagreement about Heather, because it may force Vanessa to choose between trusting Joey's instincts and trusting her own experiences. And if Heather really does have an agenda, the consequences could spread far beyond Joey and Vanessa. Her growing presence means she is becoming connected to more people, learning more about their lives, and positioning herself closer to the center of the action. Every new friendship gives her another doorway into their world, and every casual conversation could reveal information she may later use. That is why Joey's uneasiness feels increasingly significant, even if he cannot yet prove exactly what Heather is planning. He may not have evidence that would convince everyone else, but instinct can sometimes recognize danger long before facts catch up. The longer Heather remains around, the more difficult it may become to separate genuine affection from calculated behavior. And if Joey eventually discovers that his fears were justified, The emotional fallout could be devastating, especially if Vanessa realizes she trusted Heather when she should have been listening to him. Meanwhile, Bill's latest health crisis has left a trail of unfinished business that no one can simply walk away from. His collapse stopped Haley from leaving for St. Bart's, abruptly changing the course of her plans and forcing her to remain in the middle of a situation that was already spiraling out of control. Bill may have survived, but surviving does not mean the danger or the emotional consequences have disappeared. Danny's decision to call him her husband has reopened questions about exactly how she views their relationship, and those questions are bound to become even more complicated once Andre gets involved. There is a strange tension hanging over Bill's recovery because instead of bringing everyone together, the crisis seems to be exposing old divisions and unresolved feelings. His health may have stabilized, but the relationships surrounding him remain anything but stable. Andre, meanwhile, has enough problems of his own to keep him awake at night. The mystery that has been troubling him continues to demand answers, even as the chaos surrounding Bill threatens to pull his attention in another direction. That makes his upcoming encounter with Bill particularly dangerous, because neither man is entering the meeting without emotional baggage. Andre may have questions, suspicions, or accusations that he is not ready to leave unanswered, while Bill may have his own reasons for being guarded. Their confrontation could reveal more than either one intends, especially if the pressure causes one of them to lose control. Sometimes the most dangerous conversations are not the ones filled with shouting, but the ones where two people quietly measure each other and realize that neither is willing to back down. At the same time, Haley and Caroline continue their private war, and the bitterness between them seems to be growing with every calculated move. Caroline once believed that Haley was her friend, which makes Haley's decision to abandon her feel like a betrayal that cannot simply be forgotten. Now Caroline understands that she may have misjudged the relationship completely, and that realization has likely changed the way she approaches everything Haley says and does. Haley, for her part, appears determined to stay ahead of Caroline, turning their former friendship into a contest where information has become more valuable than trust. Neither woman can afford to underestimate the other because both know enough about the surrounding situation to cause serious damage if they decide to reveal what they know. Their battle is therefore becoming less about revenge and more about control, with each woman trying to determine who will ultimately hold the stronger position. The irony is that the deeper Haley gets into her own plans, the more people around her seem to become suspicious. Caroline is no longer blindly loyal. Bill has his own concerns, Andre is searching for answers, and Danny's connection to Bill remains a source of tension. Haley may believe she can manage each piece separately, but those pieces are beginning to overlap in ways she cannot completely control. A secret shared with one person can quickly become leverage for another, and an alliance formed for protection can suddenly turn into a liability. That is what makes this storyline so unpredictable, because the people involved are no longer simply reacting to events, they are anticipating one another, setting traps, withholding information, and trying to make moves before someone else can make the first move against them. The result is a tense emotional chess game where even a small mistake could trigger consequences far larger than anyone expects. For Naomi, however, the battle is much more personal and painfully real. Her life has already been filled with complicated medical and family concerns, and now the news that her father is in the hospital adds another layer of fear to an already overwhelming situation. Whatever strength Naomi has been forced to find in herself is being tested again, because there are some moments when determination cannot erase the terror of watching a loved one suffer. Ashley and Grayson are worried about their friend, and their concern could provide Naomi with the support she desperately needs. Yet even the people trying to help her cannot take away the uncertainty surrounding her father's condition. Naomi has been carrying one emotional burden after another, and this latest crisis threatens to push her closer to a breaking point. Then, just when it seems Smitty's investigation might finally be giving him the recognition he deserves, a new opportunity appears on the horizon. His Red Market Plasma series has attracted serious attention, generated clicks, and captured the interest of his editor strongly enough for the work to be submitted for a press award. That recognition could be a turning point in Smitty's career, proving that his persistence and willingness to pursue uncomfortable truths have not gone unnoticed. But professional success can be dangerous when the story involves people who have something powerful to lose. Smitty may be celebrating the impact of his reporting while the Impaler is looking at the same success as a direct threat. The more attention the investigation receives, the harder it becomes for anyone involved to pretend that the story can simply disappear. That is why Smitty's mysterious new opportunity carries such an ominous undertone. On the surface, it could be exactly what an ambitious investigative reporter dreams about, a chance to move forward after proving that his work can make a difference. But given everything that has happened, viewers have every reason to wonder whether this opportunity could somehow connect back to the dangerous world he has already exposed. The Impaler is not happy with Smitty, and that anger becomes even more significant because Smitty was the person who set the investigation into motion in the first place. He opened the door, followed the evidence, and helped bring attention to the Red Market Plasma ring, putting himself directly in the path of people who may have preferred silence. Now he has to decide what opportunity is worth accepting when the consequences of his previous work may still be waiting for him. And as Thursday's drama unfolds, every storyline seems to carry the same underlying warning. Appearances cannot be trusted. Heather looks friendly, but Joey sees something darker beneath the surface. Bill has survived, but his recovery has not healed the fractures between the people around him. Haley and Caroline may be smiling on the outside, yet underneath that surface they are carefully plotting their next moves. Naomi desperately needs stability, but another family crisis has thrown her life into uncertainty, while Smitty stands at the edge of professional success with a dangerous enemy watching from the shadows. The closer these characters get to the truth, the more dangerous their choices become. And in a world where secrets have a way of finding their way into the light, the biggest question may not be who is hiding something, but who will be the first person forced to pay the price when those secrets finally explode.